You are about to hear a telephone conversation between a man and a woman about a rental property. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Central Realty, Jill speaking. How can I help you?
Yes, hello, Jill. I've got a problem, a complaint I wish to register. Who should I speak to?
You'll want to speak to Tracy, the residential manager. Just a moment and I'll put you through.
Thanks.
Hello, this is Tracy. I understand your rent is going to be increased.
Yes, this is why I'm calling. I was told that my rent would not be increased for the length of my 6-month contract, which I signed only 4 months ago. What's going on? Is my landlord allowed to do this?
I see. Yes. Okay. That seems strange. Look, can I take down some of your particulars and I'll register a formal complaint to the landlord on your behalf?
Yes, sure, that'd be good.
Firstly, name and address, contact details.
Yes, Jane McSweeney. That's McSweeny. 3 Mauger Street. That's Maugher Street. Windory, 3355.
And the phone there?
Yes, you can contact me on 334756 extension 3176. I generally arrive home by 6 o'clock in the evening, so you can call me around that time, but not after 9. Oh, sorry, 8:30, because that's the time I leave for work.
Okay, so I should note down that the problem is that your landlord wants to raise your rent. And when did you first move in?
Yes, well, the contract began on August 1st, and... Oh, hang on. Sorry, that's the ending date. We actually moved in on February the 1st.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 8 to 10.
Okay, good. Now, if need be, you will have to send a letter to the Rental Tenancy Board. But as I said, first let us approach your landlord on your behalf and see if we can work out the problem before it gets to that situation. I'd be very surprised if you have to send a letter. 95% of these kinds of problems get solved early on.
Okay.
Now, if you have any problems you need to discuss, feel free to come in and talk with the general manager. In the meantime, if you would just wait until we receive an answer from your landlord, we'll be able to then plan our next step.
Is there anything else I could be doing?
Well, you could write a letter to the RTB listing all the events as they happened from your point of view. But as I say, hold on to it. Don't send it unless we have to. Well, that's about it for now. Thanks for your call. I'm sure we can sort this out.
Thanks very much for your help. I hope we can sort it out too. Bye for now.
Yes, bye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. You will hear a talk given to a group of international students about banking. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 17.
Hello! Wow! Nice to see all you international students here today. Thanks for coming. I'm Penny from Finance. I wasn't expecting so many. They told me 30, but there must be at least 50. Anyway, for many, if not most of you, this is your first time in Australia. You may find our banking system similar to yours. Anyway, if you have any questions, could you leave them till the end? Okay then. Well, step one for most international students is to open an account. Some of you have brought cash over from your country, and having worked with international student accounts for many years, I can tell you that the money often goes missing. Even if only for safety's sake, open a bank account. It's the safest place to put your money. Now in Australia we have 4 main banks, and lucky for you, all 4 are within walking distance of the school. First off, in Scarborough Street we have the United Global Bank, or UGB as we call it. Next we have the International Bank. When you walk into Pacific Plaza you can't miss the big red sign on your right. The Pacific Bank is located in Key Plaza, just 100 metres down the street, and Town Bank, another international bank, is in Southport Park. Now, one of my jobs in student services is to locate the best bank accounts for our students from the neighbouring banks. I am happy to say that the banks in this area are quite competitive, and I've managed to locate 3 excellent accounts with various pros and cons. The first 2 are from the UGB. Firstly, the EasySaver account is very popular among international students. The reason for this is the low fees and the 10 ATM withdrawals per month. The other account that does well is the Quick Saver. The main reason for this is because once you open an account, there are no fees for the first 6 months. No one wants to pay fees, right? Now, the International Bank has what they call a student savings account. This account has been quite successful among our international students as well, especially for those who need a checking facility. The account offers a checkbook at no additional cost to you. The last of the popular student accounts is a study account, which is offered by Pacific Bank. The main advantage with this one is that the account can be linked to a credit card, which can also be helpful for students.
Before you listen to the rest of the presentation, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 18 to 20.
A lot of people, when they go to a bank to open an account, take with them all sorts of documents. I've seen some students take restaurant bill statements, rental agreements, even video rental cards. Well, these are not suitable for opening a bank account. When it comes to opening an account, just remember the 100-point system. Some items get higher points than others, but basically you can't go wrong with your passport as the primary form of identification. I think that's worth 75 points. Some students have a driver's license. This is a good secondary form of identification and it's worth 30 points. Another one that works well is a phone bill with your address on it. Any of these items will easily get you the 100 points needed to open an account. Okay, that finishes my part of the lecture.
That is the end of section 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. You will hear two friends discussing what to study at Mitchford University. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 27.
Hello, Gloria.
Hi, Paul. I just heard that you're studying psychology this year.
At the moment, that's true, but to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what to study. You're in your third year at university. Do you have any advice for me?
Well, it's a difficult question for me to answer, but I do have some ideas, based upon my personal experience, that may be of help.
Anything would be helpful at this point. I'm feeling a little worried about what I should do.
Well, there are a few things that I would recommend. Firstly, ask yourself, what do you really enjoy studying? For example, maths, English, science? This will help you decide what course you should do. The university handbook lists all the courses available. You should take some time to look at it. A couple of my friends spoke with recent graduates of courses which took up a lot of time. Another thing which took a lot of time was an interview at the Dean of Academic Affairs office. They're always so busy there. Unless you've got a lot of time, I wouldn't bother with either of those ideas.
Okay. Gloria, I understand there are some excellent publications that I can look at which will help answer my questions. But the trouble is, I'm having a real hard time locating them. Do you know where I might be able to go?
Yes, I encountered this very same problem when I was deciding on what to study. I managed to locate a few excellent books that really helped me to decide what was best for me. Now, some of the details will be a little inaccurate.
That's no problem. If you could just remember the titles, I'll be able to look them up at the university library. Now, let me just get my pen. Okay, ready?
All right. The first book I found was What Should I Do? It was written by Paul Smith, and I believe it was published in 2000 by Smith Brothers. I think this was the best book I read, although Judy Newton's Choosing University Courses was also an excellent help for me.
Can you remember what year that one was published?
Let me see. Most of the books I read were published around the same year, 2000, I think. I can't remember who published it. I think it was Printers Limited. You'll have to check that one out yourself.
No problem. This is just what I've been looking for. Anything else you could recommend?
Yes, there was one other book which I remember because my cousin works for the publishers Brown and Tate. He started there in 2002. Anyway, the book's called Surviving University and was written by Julie White. It's an excellent book which came out in 2004. I certainly recommend it.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 28 to 30.
Gloria, this discussion has been so helpful. I wonder if I might ask one more question.
Sure. What would you like to know?
Well, I'm wondering why you finally decided to study psychology.
Well, what helped me to decide was my interest in working with people. I think that's what you've got to really decide in your own mind. Do people give you energy or do they drain you of energy? I asked my friends what they thought of my idea, and most of them thought it was a good choice.
Yeah, I think my parents or family members who know me well would be a good place to start.
I think if you like to research subjects, you might prefer to work by yourself. That could help you to decide what area you should study. For me, I like working with numbers, and I knew psychology involved a lot of this, so that also helped me to choose my course of study. The bottom line is you've really got to know what you naturally like to do. Once you work that out, you simply choose areas of study that relate to those things.
Well, Gloria, I can't thank you enough for your time. Would you be interested in joining me for a coffee?
That is the end of section 3. You will now have 30 seconds to check your answers. You will hear a student presenting his findings on a university research project. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
Welcome and thank you for coming. My name is Jeff Robinson and it's my pleasure to speak to you today. For many years now, I've had a deep interest in the perception the people of our city have had of those who are responsible for law enforcement, in particular the police. My interest began as a boy when my father worked as a policeman for the Croydon Borough. So my boyhood background is part of the reason I chose this area of study. I guess I can blame my father for being a policeman. But primarily, I'd like to think that my study would help to improve and maintain the relationship between our police and the communities in which they perform their tasks. I divided my research up into several key areas. Firstly, as I've mentioned, was the level of public satisfaction with the service provided by local police. Research throughout the 80s showed that levels of satisfaction with police in England remained mostly unchanged. There was some change in the late 1980s where there was a significant improvement. This has changed in the mid-1990s where it has been on the decline again. One of the significant factors which contributed to satisfaction was whether or not respondents had seen an officer on foot patrol within the last 3 weeks. Another factor which determined satisfaction was whether or not the respondent had been the victim of a crime. If they had, satisfaction was quite low. Women also tended to be slightly less satisfied than men, as too were those who were unemployed versus those employed. The second major area of my research involved finding out when a member of the public decided to report a crime. Unfortunately, crimes committed in England are increasing, but not so the reporting of them. Certainly, the seriousness of crimes played a part. People who suffered theft were less likely to report it to the police, whereas people who suffered bodily harm almost always contacted police. My research found that the seriousness of the crime certainly played a part in the reporting of it. From this finding, further study into what the public consider to be a serious crime would be an interesting area for further study. The third area of inquiry concerned how well police handled a reported crime from the point of view of the victim. Because of the large number of crimes and huge number of responses needed to validate my research, I decided to focus only on 3 crimes. I then divided those crimes into focus groups consisting of those who were affected by those crimes. The first crime I focused on was assault. I interviewed focus groups of men and women, and the results were the same for both. Those who had been victims of this particular crime were happy overall with the way in which police handled the situation. Theft was divided into household and business crimes. with the results showing the former group were not very happy with the level of service and the latter very happy. From these results, I can only gather that business is given a priority when it comes to the reporting of theft. The last category of crime was vandalism or property damage. This particular category revealed that both groups of respondents, city dwellers and the people living in the country, were very happy with the degree of service rendered by police.
That is the end of section 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers. That is the end of this practice lab test. At the end of the real Ielts test, you would now be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.